What's up everyone, and welcome to Video Game Book Club. Today, we're going to be taking a look at Nintendo's latest console and handheld hybrid, the Nintendo Switch. We're about a month into the console's life, and it's about that time to see whether or not it's worth your money. So let's go. As we all know, the Nintendo Switch launched on March 3rd of 2017, 5 years after the launch of the Wii U. The Switch's announcement trailer touted portability along with easy crossover from handheld to console mode, and vice versa. So far, the Switch has held up its end of the bargain as far as portability goes, as I take mine to work with me to play during lunch, and when I go home, I dock the console and pick up right where I left off. When the Switch launched, we were only able to purchase a handful of games from our local retailer. Those titles included 1-2 Switch, Super Bomberman R, Just Dance 2017, Skylanders Imaginators, and of course, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Shovel Knight, Fast RMX, I Am Setsuna, Snipper Clips, and a few others were also available through the eShop and are definitely worth taking a look at. Not to mention, we can finally import games to play since the Switch is no longer region locked like every other Nintendo console, which is exactly what I did with my copy of I Am Setsuna. But let's be honest here, it is clear which title would be the system seller, even though Breath of the Wild was also released on the Wii U at the same time. Being the addict that I am, I bought both versions, knowing I would only ever play the Switch version. Now here we are, weeks after the launch and over 120 hours logged in Breath of the Wild. Has the Nintendo Switch been a worthwhile purchase for me? Well, yes, and also no. To get a better understanding of how the console holds up, let's start by comparing the massive multi-platform launch title, Breath of the Wild. I want to preface this by saying this is not a review of the game itself, but rather a discussion on its performance and accessibility on the Switch versus that of the Wii U. No fear of spoilers here. Breath of the Wild looks amazing on the Switch's 720p portable screen as well as docked at 900p. Gameplay is smooth and quick, and while in handheld mode at 720, I saw very little to no frame drop whatsoever. Once docked, running through a village or the Korok Forest, that chunky frame rate rears its ugly head. I'm not usually one for noticing frame rate drops in games or really using them as a discussion point, but this can be a little frustrating at times, especially given the amount of time Nintendo spent developing this game. The frame rate drops don't last a long time and usually pick right back up, but they are there. Other than this small issue, the Switch version of the game is a solid title. Some motion-controlled shrine puzzles can get a little hairy if you're not using the Pro Controller or the Joy-Con grip, so watch out for that. All in all, the Switch port of Zelda is a great title and certainly one that needs to eventually be in your Switch library. But how does it stack up to the Wii U version? For that, let me pass this over to Daniel.
Hey everyone, Daniel here. So the Wii U version of Breath of the Wild holds up incredibly well. Of course, the game started out as a Wii U title, which got moved over because of abysmal Wii U sales. Me and Clay could not hold up an entire console by ourselves. Overall, the game's great. Like I said, the motion control issues with the Switch are also seen here with the gamepad. The screen of the gamepad is not nearly as good as the Switch's screen, so you're not going to want to play off screen a whole lot unless you're just doing maybe like some random stuff. If you're exploring or really playing the game at all, play it on TV. That is the way this game was meant to be played. I hadn't noticed a whole lot of frame drops either until I set aside some time to record a little bit of gameplay, and then I actually got some of the worst frame drops I have ever seen in a major title. Overall, it hasn't been noticeable, but it is there. There are performance issues. The Wii U is just not powerful enough to live up to the ambitions that Nintendo had for this game. Thanks for your time, guys, and I'm going to shoot this back over to Clay.
Sweet, thanks. When you add all of this up, should you buy the Switch just for Zelda? Probably not. Especially not if you don't have roughly $375 to $400 to just throw around for the console plus the game. Add another $70 if you want the Pro Controller, which, to be honest, does make playing Zelda in TV mode a much better experience. If you already own a Wii U, like Daniel does, and only want to play Zelda, the Wii U version is just fine. Graphically, you aren't losing much between the two systems, and you get to play for $60 plus tax, and $300 less than how I played it. Games are constantly being added to the eShop, along with new physical games releasing as well, so the Switch will have a decent library down the road, especially once the Virtual Console hits. If you are holding off until Mario Odyssey launches this winter, I can't say that I blame you. By that time, you will have a healthy library of games to go back to, along with possibly missing out on the wonderful issues people have been experiencing with the hardware of the Switch itself. Problems such as the left Joy-Con desyncing issue and the dock scratching the Switch's screen. Personally, I have not run into either of these issues, but I did prepare myself for the screen scratching by purchasing this tempered glass screen protector from Amazon. At $11 for two protectors, it has to be the single best purchase I've made for my Switch in terms of accessories. If you are looking for a way to protect your screen and don't want to pay the higher price for a flimsy plastic shield, the link for this will be in the description. In terms of transitioning between handheld to console mode, the Switch delivers on the instantaneous promise. While I do use an HDMI splitter on my main game room TV, the time between docking the console and seeing it appear on the screen is a few milliseconds longer. That is definitely not an issue, but something to note if you do the same. Now comes the big money question. Is the Nintendo Switch worth your money right now? To be quite honest, this isn't really a cut and dry situation. Everyone has different needs or wants out of a console. One big complaint that I always read about is the lack of games for the console right this very minute. I have to say, this isn't exactly a good argument, as even on launch there was more than just Zelda. While most games on the Switch right now are not console exclusives, it is easy to see why people would be against buying it at this point. For me, however, buying the console on release was the right move. Justifying this purchase with Zelda alone isn't something I could recommend right now if you currently have a Wii U sitting at home and really just want a new Zelda game. If portability is that important to you, I am not here to tell you how to spend your money. I'm just here to let you know not buying a Switch right now isn't the worst idea in the world. Most likely holiday season will be the prime time to grab one. But all in all, the Nintendo Switch is on its way to being a solid console and a solid platform for playing games on. Nintendo has seemingly hit the mark with its console handheld hybrid, and hopefully we'll see more success than they did with the Wii U. Nope. Alright, so